my patients say exactly the same, like, okay, but this has happened to me. I have gone through massive trauma. You don't know what I have gone through. I have gone through, abuse, all kinds of abuse. I have gone through these losses. Now you're telling me you're not broken? So if that is if people challenges me, I would not dismiss their experiences. That would be so wrong of me. I would agree with them, like, look, all those happened to you. No one can say that did not happen to you. Of course it happened to you. But Dr. Bill Pettit, he says, a diagnosis does not describe who you are. It describes where you are. But even though someone, you say for example, abuse, even if someone can hurt you physically, mentally torture you, emotionally abuse you, they cannot reach a part of you which is formless, which is spiritual, which is deep, 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 deep part of you. And then it might seem like this is who I am. And Dr. Bill Pettit, who is himself a board-certified psychiatrist in the US, he says, the diagnosis, it does not say this is who you are. It only says this is what's happening in your life. Part of us knows that there is a deeper intelligence at play. And when you think about mental health, and when you want to look at the solution for mental health, I would say go beyond the mind, go beyond the thinking mind to someplace deeper and inquire within, because that's where the answer lies. Because there is ultimately one solution we all are after, and that is peace of mind. So you might think, what is this mental wealth, and why is Rani saying from mental health to mental wealth? When we talk about mental health, we can put a lot of things into mental health, and we can say, oh, do your well-being practices, do this, do that, and mental illness is also part of mental health. So everything is put inside a box. And I wanted to say that where I point people to is not part of that box, it's actually beyond the box. And this is why I came up with this term called mental wealth. I will say more about that as we go along. So some of you might know about David and Michelangelo. Michelangelo, when he created David from marble, people ask him, like, wow, how did you make this masterpiece? Like, how did you even see, how did you know how to create, like, from a slab of marble? Everyone could have just seen a slab of marble. You created this masterpiece. How did you do that? And Michelangelo said, it was very easy. I just had to chip away everything that was not David. That's all I did. I chipped it away, chipped the marble away, chipped the marble away. And actually, I saw the real David there. And why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because each of us have a David inside. Our inner beauty can shine through. When we are focusing on the external layers, when we think, oh, this is who I am, actually, that's not who we are. We all have our inner David. Or if you're female like me, or you consider yourself female, then inner divina, however you call it. But we all have an inner beauty that can shine through. And that, in a way, is related to what I'm going to talk about today, which is about mental wealth. And I would say that let's make it interactive. Later on, we will be making it interactive. But if I say something, and you have an aha moment or you have a question, please feel free to ask me straight away. You don't have to wait until the end. Because there's something about this. I don't want to be lecturing down on you because it seems like I'm up here and you guys are there. We all have life experiences. You all know something. You all will, have brought your experience here. But I would say one thing right at the beginning. I want you to bring your best listening today. Because you might think, well, I already know about mental health. I've gone through, I know people who have mental health struggles, or I myself had mental health struggles, and I know what to do. So, okay, but because you're here and you have invested 2 hours, not just 1 hour, 2 hours. If you didn't know you have invested 2 hours, now you know, because this is from 7 to 9. Because you have given yourself this gift of 2 hours being here with like-minded people, because everyone here is interested to learn something new. I would say bring your best listening. Of course, your mind might go to the outside world, like what is happening with the vote count and everything. Is my party going to win? You will have all those thinking come to you, and then you can allow it to just park it and be present. Because the more you're here with an open mind and say, I don't know what Rani is going to share today, or I don't know what anyone is going to share today, but I know that my being here today is not a mistake. I'm here because I wanted to hear something for me, not for anyone else. So if you listen with that, like, even if I hear one thing from these 2 hours, and I really see something deep today, that is going to be useful for me. So I would invite everyone to listen from that perspective rather than, but I know already about mental health. Because if you think that, you might miss out on the goal that we are going to share today. Make sense? Excellent. So I'm going to cover a few key themes, maybe not in this particular order, but I will be covering these 4, and of course more. These are things that I think are very, very important. The first one is that many of my patients believe they're broken. And when I say my patients, meaning I'm talking about people who might have had a diagnosis of mental health challenges. People invariably think they're broken. Or maybe they have been told that they're broken. So I am a strong advocate of the first line. You may be lost, but you're never broken. And I want you to challenge me on this one. How can you be so sure that people are not broken? And I'm very open to be challenged because I see things differently. So you may be lost, but you're never broken is the first one. Then there is no them and us. However, we all live in separate realities. So that's the second one we're going to cover. Exploration of our true nature and the true source of our experiences. Now, I know it might sound like a jargon, but trust me, I'll do my best to share with you something. And of course, there might be more, you might want to keep looking in this direction, but at least it will be a start. And know the difference between side effects, withdrawal effects, and worsening or relapse of mental illness. Because I think I can't emphasize how much the last bit there, if people say, for example, are taking medication for mental health condition and they have no idea what is a side effect, what is a withdrawal effect, also what is this, is this mental in a relapse of mental illness or not? If you don't know this, you will be led by people who tell you, oh, this means this, and you might have no say. So I think all of these are quite important here. You can see I'm also taking my steps as I go from one place to another. I'm also taking my steps, and hopefully I'll get more steps by the end of the 2 hours. So when I say this, I think I'll come here as well. You may be lost, but you're never broken. I'm going to share a personal story of me being a psychiatrist. And I always considered myself as a kind psychiatrist. I had the traditional training to become a psychiatrist, and I always thought, yeah, I'm a good doctor, I'm a good psychiatrist. I listen to my patients. So I always had that in mind. And alongside training to be a psychiatrist, I was also a coach. So back in 2001, I had embarked on what we call personal development journey. Some of you might know that you are looking at self-help, you're looking at different ways to help yourself. Now, I was never diagnosed with any mental health condition. I never had any big problem or big trauma, but I had mini trauma. We all have mini traumas in life. Something's happened, we lose a loved one, so we all have trauma. Or maybe we are bullied in school, or maybe we are bullied by siblings. I was bullied by my siblings, and by the way, I was also a bully to them. So don't think that I was like a victim or very, very nice myself. But I had those mini traumas, but nothing major. But I knew that I had low self-confidence for a very long time. And as a doctor, I was able to hide. Behind the facade of a doctor, you think that doctors are like, oh, everyone looks up to you. So I was able to hide, not show my lack in confidence. But when I went to the UK back in 2001, all my insecurities came out. Like amongst white people, oh my goodness, they must be like they must be really confident and all those kinds of things. So I went into the self-help journey, and then I was also training to be a psychiatrist. And I came across the understanding called the three principles at one stage. I was already a coach, and I was looking for what other tools I can learn so that I not only help myself, but I can also help my patients. So always I had that in mind. I would like to learn something that helps me, and then I can help other people. And then I came across the principles, and the three principles, what I call mental wealth. So initially I was thinking, oh, this sounds like a bit of CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. Oh, it sounds like a bit like mindfulness. So I was like very, critical. I was not listening. And I was like, oh, this is not going to help me. But anyway, long story short, I ended up with a coach who was coaching me around the three principles. And then I was just talking about work and stress. And I remember, like, imagine me sitting here and imagine the coach was there. The first hour, I was just thinking, I want to make sure I get my money's worth, okay? I paid you a lot of money, so I'm going to ask you all the difficult questions. So I was challenging her and then asking questions, and I say, talking about stress. What happened in the second half, because I had 2 hours with her, so you never know, 2 hours here, then you might have a big insight yourself. By the second hour, then she started to talk about the mind, thought, and consciousness, three principles, and I found myself getting quite relaxed. Now, I didn't like that. I thought, hang on a minute, I'm supposed to be asking you all these questions. I should not be, feeling so, like, almost hypnotized, very relaxed. And I was like trying to wake up and see, like, okay, what is she going to talk about? And then I had the most surreal experience. Suddenly, I would say it was more like a spiritual experience. All of a sudden, I had this like a dark cloud come all over me. And then I don't know how else to describe it, but I was inside the room, and all of a sudden, it was like dark, something came across me, and I burst into tears. I thought, we were not even talking about work or anything. I cried and cried and cried. And she was shocked. My coach was shocked, and I was shocked. Like, why am I crying? And it was like what we call abreaction. You just cry, and there's like, you can't hold yourself back. And these words came out from my mouth. All this time, I thought I was a recovery-oriented psychiatrist, doing good for my patients. But actually, I saw them as broken. Actually, I was trying to fix them. And that was my first realization. And that was the start of a journey that happened more than a decade ago, more than 10 years ago. But since then, I have seen more and more that people might have their challenges, people might have trauma, people might have had all kinds of things happen to them. But you know what? That doesn't mean that they are broken. Now, I am talking about not broken at a fundamental level, at a core level. Now, you might have your own ideas, but I invite you to just consider this as a possibility. The people with labels, people with any kind of labels, people who have trauma, or ourselves, we might think, well, maybe something's wrong with me, but at a fundamental level, there's nothing wrong. So I leave you with this as a possibility. You don't have to believe me, you don't have to agree with me, but I'm saying, what if this is possible? It sounds good? I'm not saying you have to take my word for it. Yes, go ahead, ask the question. There's a mic coming.
So you are saying that one may be lost but not broken. So what is that point, or when is that point when one is broken? I mean, people do suicide. So when we will saying that they are broken now when they are doing suicide. So what's the use of that thing if they have already like gone away and we can do nothing?
I just want to make sure I understand you. I understand you.
You are saying that one can be lost but not broken.
Yeah.
So my question is how to know that when one is broken. I mean, if someone is so lost and broken that he attempts suicide and he finally went away, then what's the use of this knowing that he was broken or she was broken? Because we can't help him.
Okay, thank you. I think there's a very powerful question here, and I hope I got it right. So it doesn't mean that people don't think they're broken. People, when people have, and you might have had a personal experience of witnessing someone, yeah, close to you. So first of all, I want to acknowledge you for that. I want to acknowledge you for asking the question, and I know it's not easy. So especially if you you lose a loved one who have had a lot of suffering and they ended their life, and you know that everyone else who's left behind, they're left with like, what do I do with this kind of thing. So it's a very deep question you're asking me, and I hope I do justice to that. Okay, so there's no right or wrong way of saying this, but I will just tell you this, that people might think they are broken. People can feel they're broken. Many of my patients say, I think I'm broken. And so they do feel it, and they might also think there is no other way. There's no other way. And so part of why, and we don't know why someone does that, you know, why people might want to end their life. And so there's no way of knowing it. But I guess, you know, at that point when they took the decision, they didn't see any hope at all. No hope completely. And they might have like come to this firm belief that nothing's going to change now. Or maybe they have this fundamental thing that I am broken. That could be someone's perception, that could be how someone sees it. But I still would say the same, you know. Just because someone took their life does not mean that they're broken. They might have thought they were broken. That might have led them to take a drastic step. But what I'm talking about here is at a spiritual level. You know, the form, you can argue, the form has limitations. We can argue that, okay, just like, you know, but Rani, physical health, you know, come on, we have bones that are broken. People have big trauma. They might feel psychologically broken. Absolutely. They might feel psychologically broken. They might think that the thing that happened to them has broken them completely. I'm not saying that that can't be someone's experience. That can be someone's experience. But there's a difference between having an experience and that's the firm thing that means you're broken. Can you understand the distinction? I'm creating a distinction there. So people can have those kind of experiences and they can think I'm broken until they decide that they are not broken at the deep core level. And this, to me, is the most hopeful message that if this lands on anyone, I can tell you this, that they would seek help and they would do their best and not, you know, have that, you know, and not go to the point where maybe we can't help them anymore. And that's my belief, obviously, that's my opinion. You might disagree with that, and that's what I would say at the moment. I see this message as more hopeful than someone believing that they are broken. Because if I were to think that I am broken and nothing can be done about it, I might take a drastic step. Does it make sense? But if I think that, hang on a minute, I can believe that. People can say that to me, but what if this is not true? What if, like Rani is saying, there's a deeper part of me, a spiritual part of me that never can be broken? And I'll give an example here, because some of my patients say exactly the same, like, okay, but this has happened to me. I have gone through massive trauma. You don't know what I have gone through. I have gone through, you know, abuse, all kinds of abuse. I've gone through these losses. Now you're telling me you're not broken? So if that is if people challenges me, I would not dismiss their experiences. That would be so wrong of me. I would agree with them, like, look, All those happened to you. No one can say that did not happen to you. Of course it happened to you. But even though someone, you say for example, abuse, even if someone can hurt you physically, mentally torture you, emotionally abuse you, they cannot reach a part of you which is formless, which is spiritual, which is deep, 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 deep part of you. Then that place is impossible to even touch or interfere with. Now, if this was common knowledge to people and it really landed, people would be more hopeful. So thank you for asking that question. I don't know whether that has answered your question or not. You have another question, follow up. Can someone bring a mic? Just a second. Can someone bring a mic? And then if there are any further questions after this, we might take it towards the end, if that's okay. Yeah? Please go ahead.
So all you were saying, if we will say that we will accept that someone is broken, then we are going with the person and person may harm himself, correct?
If someone thinks they are broken.
Yes, you are saying that if someone is, you don't accept that they are broken, and someone is broken, if I accept that yes you are broken, and they might harm themselves, correct? So that way you are like kind of putting hope onto this situation, or it's just a hope, it's a wish, not the reality.
I'm not sure I'm getting your question, but what I would say to you is that how we are with someone is going to, this is not a prescription of any kind. I'm not saying that,
Yes.
oh, if you don't, if you think they're broken, just pretend that they are not broken. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just asking you to see for yourself as a possibility rather than trying to convince someone else. See for yourself if this lands for you. Okay?
Some are weak, some are strong, so it varies.
It will vary, and I would say whatever I share here today, don't try to go and use that as a prescription. See what lands for you, because it might not land for you straight away today. But I want you to see that what I'm pointing to in terms of mental health is not the traditional way of thinking about mental health. Traditional way of thinking about mental health might be like, oh, you had all this trauma, you had all this really, yeah, I agree with you, you're broken. And by the way, I know of people, professionals who have said that they're not in front of their patients, but they have said, like, gosh, a lot has happened to this person. They are damaged. I have heard professionals use terms like, this person is damaged. But can you see that they have not woken up to what I am sharing with you? So I would say, first of all, use this understanding to see if you can really see something deep about what I'm pointing you to. Only if you really see something, then you can share with someone else. But today is the first time you might be hearing this. All I would say is that sit with this, get quiet with this, see if there might be a truth in this, okay? And from that place, then you can explore.
Yeah, what I say is like if we will accept that the person is broken, the person can harm himself. So rather accepting this truth, we put a hope to that person.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting is this.
Yeah, yeah. Anything that you are getting, that please again explore it deeper. Yeah, because sometimes we might just have to sit with someone who is feeling hopeless. Imagine someone is feeling hopeless. Imagine someone is feeling broken. They come to me, and then I say, no, 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 you're not broken, you're not broken, you're not broken. Don't even think that. I am, when I come from that place, they will think, oh, Rani does not even understand me. I might not use the word broken or not broken at all with them. I might just sit with them, just get quiet with them, and I acknowledge that they are going through a difficult time. So this is not a strategy. Do you understand? So, but you don't even have to tell them, convince them, or I don't have to say, no, 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 you're not broken. I could if it makes sense to me. But if I really fundamentally needed this person sitting in front of me, or not just this person, anyone, could never at a deeper level be broken. Never. because I'm talking about the spiritual essence of who we are, that core part of us that can, that's not even form, it's formless, we can't even see it. So if we knew that there's a core part of each of us, and we are speaking from that place in us to that place in them, then we can just be ourselves and do our best to support them in terms of distress. Okay, let's move on now. So thank you so much for asking, because your question has allowed me to respond to that in a way that I might not have responded to. So thank you. Medication as such, but I also appreciate that medications do not cure mental illness. Now, it's not just me saying it. You can ask anyone. No one can ever say that, oh, our medications will cure your mental illness. They can say this is a treatment, this is evidence-based, but no one can say, oh, you take this medication and you'll be cured for the rest of your life. Because the evidence base is not like that. So we don't use the word cure in mental illness. We say, take this medication, you will feel better. Feel better is different than cure, right? So if medication does not cure mental illness, what is the cure? I'm not going to provide you with any solution. It's not like, oh, I'm saying it, you take it. But I'm explaining here that sometimes, human beings, we are, in a way, we are going through a lot. We have our own realities. We have stuff happen to us. We have environments, we have governments, we have cultures. And soon Parth and Vani will be talking about their perspectives. So we all have different experiences. And so can a medication really, cure that suffering? Yeah, so we are going to talk about it more detail. So if medication doesn't cure mental illness, what is the cure? I have some ideas because I have seen people get better. I have seen people transform their lives, even after a label of very serious mental illness. And it's not just me, it's like many people. And there's a fantastic book that has recently come out, and it's called Beyond Diagnosis. And if you wanted to read up on how people's life has transformed because of an understanding called the three principles, which are called mental wealth, you might want to look out for this book. I hope you can read it, Beyond Diagnosis. I know that it has got a Kindle version, and it is by someone called, no, what is her name? Hannah. I would highly encourage anyone, if you want to learn more about today and how this understanding can help. Hannah has written a book. Some of you might know about the DSM-5, right? So, yeah. So you know the DSM-5 is one of the textbooks we read where we are looking at classification of mental illness. This is, in a way, what Hannah, it's called Hannah rather than, but although there's a C in front, she has made this book into different categories: mood disorder and psychosis, addiction, personality disorder. And then she has interviewed experts and professionals to talk about this, but she has also interviewed many people with lived experience of personality disorder, or borderline, of bipolar, of psychosis, mood disorder, like depression and bipolar. And they have shared with her how this understanding has transformed their lives. And by the way, I was also interviewed for this book in the mood disorder section. I talk about mental wealth. So if you are interested, then you can obviously get this book. It is on Kindle. So moving on, we are going to explore, what might be the cure. Although I would not say much at this stage. Okay, so let me just put it that way. I have a mentor called Dr. Bill Pettit. He's a renowned psychiatrist in the US. He did retire and then he has come back now. And he also shares the three principles understanding. And I'll just call it mental wealth for the time being. I won't have time to go through what the three principles are. But Dr. Bill Pettit, he has a line, he has a quote I absolutely love, and you might want to write this down. He says, a diagnosis does not describe who you are. It describes where you are. Okay, so there is a very important distinction, because when we think about the diagnosis, most people say, "Oh, but I have got a diagnosis of anorexia, for example. So this is like I'm anorexic." Suddenly, it might become an identity thing, and so or someone might have depression, or someone might have bipolar or schizophrenia, or all of any of these labels, and then it might seem like this is who I am. And Dr. Bill Pettit, who is himself a board-certified psychiatrist in the US, he says, the diagnosis, it does not say this is who you are. It only says this is what's happening in your life. Because think about it. When we talk about diagnosis, we cluster symptoms together. If you fulfill this, if you have this symptom and this symptom and this symptom and this symptom, you fulfill this criteria, right? And I have seen over time that diagnoses change. As people's understanding changes, their diagnosis also changes. But sometimes people have more and more diagnoses put on. Initially, they might present with anxiety disorder, what we call anxiety disorder. Then they start taking medication. After some time, they say, okay, you don't have anxiety only, you have bipolar. Or you don't just have bipolar, now you have got this, you have got that. So then people feel overwhelmed. And many people are not just not looking for a diagnosis. People are looking for a solution to their problem. They're looking to, how can I feel better? How can I live my best life? So that's what we need to look at. What's the outcome? What is the outcome we can give people which is positive? So Dr. Bill Pettit says that there is a common root cause of all mental illness. No matter what the diagnosis, there's one root cause. And he talks about chronic stress. And if you think about it, if you know about stress, you will, and if you know of someone who has got a diagnosis of some kind, you will know that they do have stress in their life. And they might have had a lot of stress in their life and a lot of trauma in their life, and they are struggling. And so what you won't find is someone who has a diagnosis is that they are really calm, they're happy. Some people might be some of the time, but we are talking about in general, if someone is struggling, the chances are that they are feeling overwhelmed and very, very stressed. So he says that the common root cause of all mental illness, no matter what it is chronic stress. And of course, we know that there is a biochemical reaction as well. So if someone is stressed, then we also have all the physical health problems and associated mental health problems. And he says there's only one ultimate solution, and that is experiencing peace of mind. And I want all of us to think about it. Some of us might have a diagnosis, some of us might not have a diagnosis. We might just be curious, or we might have a loved one who has a diagnosis, and we are looking for answers for them. But if you think about it, ultimately, every single one of us, we just want peace of mind. Me too. We all are, we're looking for something, and we are looking for that peace of mind. We might say, well, if I get a good job, if I'm married to the right person, if my relationship with my wife or my spouse or my children get better, then I'll be content. But basically what we're looking for is that peace of mind. And in my invitation to you to consider is, on one level, on a surface level, it might seem that it's up to us to create peace of mind, but I also want to leave you with this possibility, or give you this possibility, that what if the deeper mind is already at peace? What if we all have experience of that from time to time? Yeah? Especially when we are in deep sleep. We all go to sleep, right, at night. Obviously, we might be, we might not, some of us might be able to sleep really well, some of us might not be able to sleep well. But when we are, in deep sleep, our mind is fully at rest. We might even forget who we are, because we don't have this idea of like, oh, I'm this body or anything. We are just in a very different zone. And then in the morning we wake up and suddenly all the problems come back. I need to do this, I need to do that. But at a level, we already, our mind already knows that, we can tap into a quiet space. There, people talk about mindfulness practice. And how many of you do mindfulness, by the way, or meditation, or something like that? Some of you do mindfulness meditation, yeah. So people who do mindfulness or meditation, they talk about like getting into a quiet zone, yeah. They just feel calm. But we know that we can't meditate 24/7. We can only meditate for a couple of hours or half an hour in the morning or afternoon. So what happens to the people, the rest of us who don't do meditation? We all get into that meditative zone from time to time. Say we are with the children, just maybe young children, and or a baby, we see the baby and we just fall in love with the baby. In that moment, we are forgetting all our troubles, we are forgetting all our thoughts, and we are just in the moment. Some of us, we like, some of us we like gardening, some of us we like running, sometimes we have a hobby, we just get in the zones where we are not even thinking. So then it seems like, and I know that someone here is an environmentalist, and so, you're talking about nature, yeah? And when you are out in nature, again, sometimes you have a deep sense of connection to something beyond us. So that again, so a part of us knows that there is a deeper intelligence at play. And when you think about mental health, and when you want to look at the solution for mental health, I would say go beyond the mind, go beyond the thinking mind, to some place deeper and inquire within, because that's where the answer lies. Because there is ultimately one solution we all are after, and that is peace of mind. So I gave a sense of mental wealth. And the reason I call it mental wealth is it's within. We might think that, oh, my answer, my life problem is very, very serious, right? It's very serious. And I'm not disputing that it looks serious to all of us. We all have challenges in life. Every single one of us. It might not be the same, and some people's challenges might be more than others. I'm not disputing that. But we all have our own challenges in life. We all want to be a better person. We all want to be happier. And yet it seems like there's some blocks. There's some blocks. And it's so easy to look outside and say, oh, if only this was different for me, then I would be at peace. If only people were kinder to me or people accepted me for who I am, then I'll be at peace. So it feels like the answer we are looking for is out there. And when I'm saying mental wealth, the answer is in that. Like, we already have the greatest resource or the greatest wealth within us. But because we have these five senses, I can see all of you. I can hear, I can taste. So we have got these five senses. And then we are constantly stimulated by our environment. So it really feels like, oh, that has to happen for me to feel better. Or that needs to happen in order for me to feel calm, peace and calm. But all the people who are spiritual, or even the major religions, they're all pointing to a deeper truth. They're pointing to the fact that the answer lies within. And when we're talking about mental wealth, I would say the same. Whatever your challenges are, whatever you're looking for in life, look within, because that's where the wealth is. And that's mental wealth, like I call it. There's a story that one day, there was a beggar. Okay, he always used to beg, and by sitting on a box, and he used to cover it with a sack, and then he used to, put out his hand and ask for money for people who are passing by, and everyone in the town knew this beggar because he is always begging. Then one day, obviously this is only a story, but a man comes to him and say, "Hey, why do you keep begging?" He says, "Obviously, is it not obvious to you? I'm poor. I need money. This is why I keep begging." He says, "What's in the box?" He said, "What box?" He said, "The box you're sitting on." "Oh, it's just an old box that I found, and I've just been sitting here for years now." "Why do you ask?" He said, "Have you ever opened the box?" And he said, "No, why should I?" "Well, why don't you open the box?" He opened the box, and it was full of money. Obviously, this is only a metaphor for our life. What if where we are sitting is like is already there's richness in there, but we are so we are sitting somewhere and we are looking out there and saying, oh, this needs to happen, or I need to get the richness from there, that we are missing out on the richness that already is with us. Okay, so that's the invitation. It's like, can we look within for the answers we are looking for in life? I would say that when it comes to mental wealth, one of the way of explaining it is that we all have infinite potential, all of us. And of course, you can say, "But Rani, I can't do this, I can't do that." That's not the problem. But what if we all have infinite potential, and we have all this unhelpful thinking, we have our beliefs, and we have got, we assume this is who I am, and then we are trying to mask it. But what if like mental wealth is our infinite potential minus all of that? There's another way of explaining it. My friend, he's a coach, very well-known coach. He has an equation that I absolutely love and I would like to share with you. And he talks about clarity. We are all looking for clarity, right? We all want clarity of mind. So he says clarity is equal to capacity minus contaminated thinking. Clarity equal to capacity minus contaminated thinking. Let me explain a bit more about this. We all have infinite capacity, all of us, okay? And what gets in the way is this bit. We also have a lot of what he calls contaminated thinking, meaning thinking that is not helping us progress in life, grow in life. And it's not like positive thinking. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not asking you to think positively because we have so many thoughts a day. You can't just say, I'm going to think positive, I'm going to think positive, I'm going to think positive. You can't. I mean, you can think positive from time to time, but we have so many thoughts a day, 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Some of them are bound to be negative. But the good news is, once you realize, wow, okay, I have a lot of like thinking which is not pure. Basically, contaminated means impure. Or unhealthy, however you name it. We go about life entertaining a lot of thoughts. And some people say, but I'm an overthinker, Rani. I think a lot. And when we say we think a lot, we are also worrying a lot. We are thinking about what if this goes wrong, what if that goes wrong, how am I going to pay my mortgage, how about this, what about this? So we have a lot of thinking. I'm not saying that we don't have problems, we need to solve our problems, but overthinking is never going to solve our problems. What is going to solve our problems is when we have some clarity. When we know, okay, I have a challenge and I need to have a clear mind, then we can look for ideas, right? But if we have a lot of contaminated thinking and I'm going about my life with all this thinking and I'm trying to make sense of them, guess what? I'm looking down and I'm thinking. I'm missing out on the opportunities. My mind doesn't even work because I'm so much caught up in the contaminated thinking that my real capacity is shrinking. And the less of this, the less contaminated thinking I have, then the more capacity I have to deal with any challenges I have in life. And guess what? That's what clarity of mind is, So if we know this, then we can make a choice. If you're saying that, okay, I want to live life fully, I want my life to be better, then you will see that if you are engaging in contaminated thinking, and you see that it's not helping, there's a different choice to be made. Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, sounds good. Tell me how I should get rid of contaminated thinking. That must be in your mind, like, okay, give us a solution. If you're saying we should not have contaminated thinking or it's bad, how can I drop the contaminated thinking? Is that something you're thinking about? The contaminated thinking. That's an excellent question. See, a lot of our thinking is habitual thinking. We have a habit of overthinking. We do and we don't realize it until suddenly we notice it. Oh wow, I'm doing that. So the most important thing is for us to be aware of that. Because sometimes we go about life not even being aware that, okay, this is just automatically it's coming. Because we have a tendency to do it. So we have conditioned ourselves to overthink. Because we have an intellect, and don't get me wrong, we need the intellect. We need the intellect to solve our problems, to go about life, to make sure we are earning our daily bread, to make sure we are doing our job efficiently and everything. But what we do wrong, or what we get carried away with, when we have a problem, we think we have to chew on the problem, as if chewing on the problem is going to give results. But there's a saying, there's a quote, that we cannot solve the problems from the same level of thinking that got us into that trouble in the first place. So we need to elevate our thinking. So thank you for that, because one of the metaphors I use is this metaphor of a lift. Okay? So imagine there's an elevator of consciousness. So you go to some fancy buildings like some in the metro cities, and the lift is outside the building and it's full of it's a glass lift. Have you ever seen a picture of a glass lift? It's not inside the building; it's outside. And then what happens is that as you go up the lift, then you see you initially you might just see the cars, and then you might just see the traffic. As you go up and up, you see the landscape. As you go up even more, you see wow, you see the whole new horizon, right? So I want you to imagine this, because this might help you. We all have states of mind. Let me put it. We all have our states of mind keeps changing throughout the day. It fluctuates. So it's like this. Sometimes you feel good, and sometimes again, like something happens and you feel bad. Again, you feel good, bad. So it fluctuates all the time. So imagine you are on an elevator of consciousness. There is a basement as well. So there's ground floor, and then there are basement, level -1, -2, -3. So as you go under the basement, -1, -2, -3, it's dark. You don't see anything, and it's dark and gloom. Imagine that's how our mind is. There are times that we all feel hopeless. And it's like sometimes we feel low, and then we go towards the basement and we feel more and more hopeless. If we don't know this might make us take drastic steps, like the lady was saying about something that happened. But then also we know how the mind works is that just like we go down the basement, -1, -2, -3, the same, again, what happens is, without us even interfering, the consciousness elevator will lift up. Then sometimes we get to the ground floor. If we say, actually, it's not so bad. Then we go to the first floor. Oh, I can see something now. I can see a solution. So my mind is getting clearer. So then again, as it goes up in essence, we might see more, we might have more solutions. We might have more aha moments. This is really useful to know, because down in the basement, we are all bound to have a lot of contaminated thinking. And like you said, the gentleman said, we can't help it. There are times that we all feel negative. We all have contaminated thinking. So it's not like I should not have any contaminated thinking. For you to know that this is where you are. Your state of mind is low at the moment. What do I need to do? Maybe you don't need to take any major decision right now. Maybe you allow, you know this is how the mind works. So imagine like I have a beach ball, okay? It's a beach ball that, and so I'm trying to press it under the water, push it under the water, okay? So the nature of the beach ball is to get, is bounce back. It's to come up to the surface of the water. But I'm really using my two hands and I'm trying to, to put it down, put it down, put it down. But the moment I take off my hands, it's going to bounce up. We are like that. We have innate resilience. We all have that tendency to bounce back. But except for our contaminated thinking, that keeps suppressing it. And we say, no, 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 this is not the answer. It's more serious than what you're thinking. So we are the ones trying with our thinking, we are putting it down. But the moment we relax and we give ourselves permission to just not do anything right now, we will deal with the problem, but let me get in a better state of mind. You will find that because the elevator of consciousness is going to go up at some point, you are about to feel better. So when you're feeling low, just be okay, be graceful. It's not a good place to be in, I know that. But you don't have to get so scared of the darkness. Someone who you know will just hold your hand, say, I know you're feeling dark at the moment, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm here for you. Sometimes this is what people need. And you know that as they lift up from the depression, as they lift up from that low state of being, then they are bound to feel different. From a different place, they are going to make better decisions. Does this make sense to you? Yeah. So this is why this understanding is really important for us. There's a mic coming, if you can say, and then there's another one as well.
Meditation also help in this?
Meditation. Yeah. I mean, by all means, use anything that helps you. But not everyone meditates. I don't meditate myself. But I know that I get into that meditative space from time to time. I could be just walking in nature. I could be playing with my dog. I could be just like reflecting on something. But the less thought we have got, the less contaminated thinking we have got going on for us, whatever activity that is, whether it's mindfulness, whether it is you're playing tennis or something, the more you'll find that it's easier to return to that space. Absolutely. So if you are someone who practices meditation, please do. But that meditative space is available to all of us, irrespective of whether we do meditation or not. But thank you. Please go ahead.
So, ma'am, like you just said a few moments back, that at times what you need is to just take a step back in order for you to leap maybe a few steps ahead. So, ma'am, don't you think at times what may happen is we might as well become so focused upon, filling our cups such that we could give that we are not able to fill our cups in the first place. Like you said, that at times you need to relax such that you can work efficiently. So in my personal experience and then in the experience that I was shared by like a few couple of friends of mine, was that at times while they were trying to relax just before doing something intense, they were not able to relax at all because they were constantly under this pressure that I have to be able to be enough relaxed to function at my best. So that sort of pressure sort of doubled down and sort of ruined the whole thing. So how would you suggest that we go ahead with this?
I mean, how do you relax? Is that what you're asking?
How do I relax in a way that it's not bothering me to be relaxing?
Very good
If
point.
that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when you're not able to sleep at night, that itself becomes a stress.
Yeah, like you know that you have to sleep because you want to function in the next day, but you're not able to sleep because you know that okay, I'm just not relaxed enough to sleep now.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a one word answer I have got, and then you might say, how do I do that? We have a lot of how to questions, but I'm going to give you a one word, and it's a matter of practice. I think we have been very good at practicing uh, trying to be in control. Or I have to relax, for example. I have to go to sleep. Me, 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 me. It's up to me. So we put ourselves under a lot of pressure. Let me just rub this off. I'm conscious of time and I realize that time flies very quickly, and I'll go through my slides. Let me do this. You're ready for this? We are not very good at surrendering. We think that I'm not relaxing, I have to make myself relax. That, like exactly what you said, that gives us a lot of, we put ourselves under pressure by saying, I have to do this. But you know, if you just trust that it's okay not to be relaxed right now. It's okay not to be relaxed right now. When we make it okay, it's like we are surrendering. You know, we accepted that right now I'm feeling anxious and it's okay to be anxious. But we say, no, 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 it's not okay to be anxious. I should not be anxious. Why? Because we are trying to be in control. But so the more we can just allow ourselves to surrender in that moment, even if it feels very uncomfortable, that is the answer. There is a beautiful book called The Surrender Experiment by, I think it's called Michael Singer. He talks about the surrender experiment. And I think this is a challenge for all of us. We think that we are the one in control. We are the one in the driver's seat, and we are driving all the time. As a possibility, if we are the co-pilot? And they say universal intelligence, there's a deeper intelligence at play. And of course, it's like how I say it is like we are sitting, you know, that sometimes kids, they sit on their parents' lap, the mom or the dad, and they're pretending they're driving the car. Like, yeah, I'm driving the car, but actually they're not. They're just steering they're just steering the wheel, and their parents are controlling it. What if we also are in the lap of something more, a higher intelligence of life? And of course, we are still navigating it, but the more we surrender and trust that I'm okay not feeling okay right now, I'm feeling tense, I feel anxious, I can't sleep, and the more I force myself to sleep, it gets worse. The more I force myself to relax in that moment, it can get worse.
I think even mindfulness may help in such circumstances. I'm trying to relax, I'm trying to sleep, but I'm not getting sleep. And if I become aware of it, if I become mindful of it,
Yeah.
gradually the force of the elements which are distracting, that will diminish, and maybe we are able to
Yeah.
regain
Absolutely,
part of
absolutely.
relaxation.
There's something about, like, being mindful that, that what is, sometimes what is, we don't like what is. We don't like what is. We would rather like something else. And the more we come to like accept what is in this moment, it's a matter of living in the present moment. I'm conscious of time, so I will go ahead and finish this because I would like to invite Vani and Parth to share their experiences. I'm going to say something about medications because I've been requested to talk about medication a little bit. I'll just touch on it, but I want to, because some of you might know people who are on medication, so I want to touch on this very broadly. So there's a challenge with medication prescribing because for a long, long time, we prescribers, it's like driving without knowing how to stop. So we knew how to start people on medication, but we did not know how to stop people on medication because the evidence base was not there. So imagine, you're learning to drive, so you're driving, but you don't know how to put on the brake or how you don't know how to reverse the car. So there is, in terms of deprescribing, I do a lot of deprescribing as part of my work, and this is something I'm interested in. So as a psychiatrist, I do deprescribing, helping people come off medication safely, because if someone has been on medication for several years, it is not simple, it is not easy. And I want to give you a little bit about what the current evidence base says and the guidance. So in the UK, we use something called the NICE guidelines. So it's the National Institute of Clinical Excellence. People used to think that, oh, if you have been on medication for a long time and you stop, the withdrawal effects are only going to last 1 or 2 weeks. And now more and more evidence has come up that actually it's not only 1 or 2 weeks. It depends on how long people have been on medication. So people can struggle with it for longer, and for many people it can be quite severe. So the guidelines have now said that, okay, this can be the case. People can have challenges. And when people try to come off medication, normally what we do is, you look at the pill size. Or you are taking 200 milligram of, say, for example, a medication called sertraline, or just reduce it by half. Or then you reduce it by half. Or then, you reduce it by half, and then you stop it. So that's called linear tapering. You just like reduce and make it 50, 50, 50, or if the lowest dose is like 25 milligram, you stop after that. Because we are looking at the medication size rather than anything else. Hyperbolic tapering is obviously is a jargon for you, but basically all it means is that it's not as simple as that. And you might, the lower the dose, you might want to go even lower, like change into liquid form first, so that people don't have any serious withdrawal effects. You might want to take this scan of that the picture, because it will take you to a YouTube video of the myth of low serotonin and antidepressants. And the picture I've taken is a clip from there. So if you are someone yourself taking medication and you are thinking, well, I'm just going to reduce by, according to the medication size, and the lowest medication size is, let's say, for 25 milligram, and you stop it, it's like jumping off the cliff, okay? In this case, it's a citalopram, it's a medication called a citalopram. The lowest dose, you can say if it's like 5 milligram, but you might think, 5 milligram is nothing, it's the smallest dose, and so I'm just going to stop it. But it's like a steep curve, and people can really have withdrawal symptoms from that. Whereas what the science is saying now is something called hyperbolic tapering. So just because the tablet is only found like 5 milligram is the lowest tablet, doesn't mean that you just stop it there. You might, your doctor might help you for the last bit at least to change into a liquid form, so that you can do it very, very gradually. So it's not, rather than jumping off a cliff, you are like taking small, small steps. And so it's a very simple way of saying how they both differ. And there's a guidelines by the Royal College of Psychiatrists. This is a very fast taper. And I will give the reference, like where you can find this. So this is a very fast taper if someone is trying to reduce by 50%. And this is for like some antidepressants like paroxetine. I don't know what they are called in India, the trade name here. But this is a short-acting antidepressant. So the guideline is saying that you have to go through it very, very carefully. So if you assume that someone who's been on medication for a long time, you have to think about 10% or 20% over like 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes even slower, so that you are not causing them more harm by trying to taper off faster. And how would you know this is a withdrawal symptom? Say someone, that your loved ones, they are trying to come off medication, they're feeling worse. Okay, they're feeling worse. How do you know that this is not a relapse of their mental illness or the depression or bipolar, but it's because of coming off medication? This acronym called the finishes can help. So they're like flu-like symptoms and insomnia and nausea and many things here. You will find that many of them are sensations or symptoms that they did not have before they started on medication. That will give you the clue that, hang on a minute, this can't be the relapse of their mental illness, because they didn't have any of this paresthesia or sensory disturbance, or they didn't have any brain zaps or anything beforehand. Also, this must be then because they are trying to come off the medication. Maybe they are doing it too fast. So this is basic education, but most doctors, they don't know this. And so when you educate yourself or your loved ones, that you are obviously in a better place to make the right decision and do it slowly. And I have a YouTube channel, and one person made a comment there on one of the videos that they had been to many doctors, but the doctor said it's all in the head, or it's not happening. You're just imagining it. So I think the more you educate yourself and understand, you will know that there are many people who are struggling because the doctors say, oh, you're just imagining it. This can't be your medication. This is not a withdrawal symptom. But now we know more and more from the evidence base that withdrawal symptoms is a really difficult thing for a lot of people. So I said, know the difference between side effects, withdrawal effects, and worsening or relapse of mental illness. Because sometimes just the the side effect itself could be like, people might be thinking like, oh, your mental illness is getting worse, but actually people might be really struggling with the side effect of the medication they are on rather than anything else. So something to bear in mind. And in terms of like how to taper, the people, people are trying so many different things because the doctors are not helping them. There are online peer support groups helping people to come, helping peers to come off medication by saying, okay, you can do this, you can do that. The last bit there, the tapering strips, basically is something that only a doctor can prescribe, and they have to get the tapering strips from Netherlands. Basically, they are like tablets. They are smaller and smaller and smaller dose, but you don't have to cut it, you don't have to do anything. It's more expensive, and we have ordered a few tapering strips to help some of our patients come off their medication. I would say that medication, just coming off the medication is only one challenge, but if people still have problems with how their mind works, they don't know how to deal with their emotions, they're still struggling with their, their emotions, how to deal with the trauma and everything, it can be hard. So I would say, of course, you can do the tapering the right way, but the awareness of the mental wealth, this is what I've seen in people, this can really help people massively when they're trying to come off medication. So the key takeaways, I want you to consider all these points. We might not have been able to cover all of them in detail. I think I have done my best in a short time, and we might come back to it. But I want to leave enough room for us to have conversations with Vani and Parth, and for you to ask questions. And this is the final slide, striving to see what's within. And my invitation for you is that no matter what you are in life, where you are in life, whether you think you have got a mental health condition or you are here because you're just interested in mental health, please consider this, that the real investigation or the inquiry is about inquiring within. Because if we take away the stuff that's not us, we will find the goodness in us, the innate goodness in us, and it's in not just me and you, it's in everyone. And you might want to take a note of this, about where you can find more information about some of the things I talked about, the antidepressants. Dr. Bill Pettit is the psychiatrist I mentioned. If you go to his website, you will find a lot of videos on, like, he talks about depression, he talks about ADHD, neurodiversity, he talks about psychosis, schizophrenia, addiction, everywhere. And he brings in the 3 principles or the mental wealth understanding. This is a really hopeful message to give people. So if you know of anyone who might benefit from hearing a different perspective, and so I would highly, highly recommend you listen to Dr. Bill Pettit, some of his the resources that he has got. And yeah, how you can connect with me, that's my email address. And I am on social media. I have got a YouTube channel. If you just type Dr. Rani Bora, you'll find my YouTube channel. I do like short videos around confidence and about how to let go of anything that people struggle with, stress, burnout. And I'm doing weekly short videos about mental health, obviously from the mental wealth perspective that might be helpful. So I'll leave it here, and thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
To invite Vani and Parth from the Phosphene on stage. We are going to be having a conversation which is going to be an exploration of their mental health journeys, keeping in mind that intersectionality informs their lives. And we'd like to see how mental health and intersectionality converge. So please welcome on stage Parth and Vani.
Harvard scientist called Dr. Chris Palmer, I came across some of his work. There is a very strong connection between gut health and what we eat and also depression. And my daughter, I just stumbled upon that she was consulting. So nowadays in India, it's very easy to consult a psychiatrist or somebody online. And once I came across this study and we modified her diet, that itself made a lot of difference. What are your experience with this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I share something called lifestyle medicine. And very quickly, maybe I share about the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. Um, Diet is one important factor for sure. So if you think of MEDS, the acronym, okay, MEDS meds, those are the first 4 pillars of lifestyle medicine. The M stands for mindful activities. So if we can have any mindful activities, anything at all, like mindfulness, or anywhere where you can just be quiet and get quiet, that itself is very important as for our lifestyle. And can you imagine, in our life we have got so much of chaos, so much of like, I have to do this, I have to do that. We're hardly being mindful. So just slowing down to be mindful and doing mindful activities is definitely the first pillar. It's all evidence-based. The second one, E, stands for, what is E? Sorry, exercise and movement. And we all know the benefits of exercise and movement. It's a lifestyle, okay? The third one is D for diet, absolutely. And you can see that, highly processed food, I mean, it's common sense. If you think about it, if you think about our grandparents and what you find in the kitchen, you won't find sugar. You won't find like all those highly processed food. You'll find leafy, greeny vegetables, grains, and all the right food. And it's about going back to the basics of what our ancestors had already been eating in the past: good protein, good fat, good carbs, and we don't have to go for all the junk food. And there's definitely this gut-brain connection for sure. So absolutely, that's the third pillar. The S, which is the fourth pillar, stands for sleep. We were talking about sleep. Most people, I have seen that the early warning signs for any mental illness, when people have a relapse or something, is the first thing that goes is the sleep. So if we can prioritize sleep of all the different areas, that itself is going to be a game changer. So sleep for sure, and I'm a very big advocate of making sure that we prioritize our sleep. And after that, after the sleep, it is about our connections, how we are connected to people, and especially loved ones, but most importantly, our connection to ourselves. We don't think about that, but are we, do we slow down to just think about us? Are we doing self-care, so connection with ourselves? And the final one is abstinence from addictive substances. We are talking about alcohol, we are talking about drugs, we are talking about nicotine, vaping, but also we are talking about sugar, because sugar is the most addictive substances. And I have to be honest, I came to India and I have been always good with my food, but the moment I see jalebi, the moment I see this, I say, okay, all right, come on, one is not going to hurt me, and then there you go. Once you start on one sugar, and it's so addictive that you are tempted to eat more and more and more. I have definitely put on weight. And again, knowing this, I know that it's about our awareness, and then we can make a choice. So thank you for bringing this up. I would say that's a very important one. They say there's a hand there.
What about dependence on benzos for sleep? That's an addiction.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh gosh, don't get me started on that one. That is, and I know of doctors who prescribe benzos as if they are like not addictive at all. And they will say, oh, you can't sleep, take this benzo. That is poor practice. All the evidence-based says that we should not be prescribing benzos as first line. I don't prescribe benzos at all. And this is why some patients don't like me, because that would be a very easy way of going to sleep. And so, but I would be giving them a more important, more challenging problem for the rest of their life, because coming off benzos is not easy at all. And then we have all the complications and the side effects that come up with benzo dependency. So, If I were to be honest, so we can use melatonin, but my first thing would be to see how I can change the lifestyle first. I'll be looking at the diet. I'll be looking at their habits. I'll be looking at how they are managing the stress, for example, all of that. And if none of that works, and they are desperate because otherwise their mental health would worsen, I might look at an antihistamine, for example. And again, they will be very, very short term, but everyone is different, and sometimes we might have to use it, but I don't go towards benzo. For me, it's a no-no, except if they are already on benzo prescription and they have run out of it, then I will be doing a disservice by making them withdraw even more. So that is going to be difficult. But thank you for your question. We will take some questions, but at this stage, I really want to hear from Vani and Parth, and then we will obviously take questions. So over to you guys.
Thank you, Dr. Bora. First of all, it was a really insightful talk. I learned a lot, and I hope that everybody heard it as well. I had one question from you while I was listening to this, and this is something that has been come up recently in my mental health journey in therapy. We often are compelled to take care of our mental health and mental well-being only when it is threatened. It is not a constant practice in our lives. We don't follow constant practices where we take care of our mental health in our daily practices. But for example, when there is a crisis, something bad happened, or we are going through a loss, we are going through a grief, it is only then that we start taking care of ourselves. So how can we develop daily practices instead of just depending on taking care of ourselves and looking after our mental health only when it is, in threat?
Okay, that's a useful observation, isn't it? I will answer it a roundabout way. I think many of the mental health challenges are like existential crisis of some kind. Many people, I have come across, when they present with mental health problems, is because they have reached a point in their life when they are thinking, "What's the meaning of life? Why am I even here?" Or someone passes away, and suddenly, we think, "Oh my goodness, I didn't even say I love you to this person, and they passed away." And then we have guilt, and we have got remorse and all kinds of things. And because we are so we talked about living in the autopilot, we can go about life living in, thinking taking life for granted, and something happens, and then we take stock of life. So in a way, it is about being more mindful, living a more mindful life. I was doing a talk yesterday in Ahmedabad for Adani Group senior leaders, and I called it Mindful Leadership. But what if we could all live? What if we could all prioritize living a mindful life, a mindful way of living, rather than just existing and going about life okay, I'll get up in the morning, and what do I need to do? I need to go to work, and it's a 9-to-5 job, or I need to do my business. What if we all ask ourselves, what is my big why? Why am I even here? If we wake up in the morning and just spend 15-20 minutes of introspection, thinking what is my big reason in life? What is my big why? And of course, we might say, well, I'm here for my family. I'm here for to make some money, and if I'm doing business, but there's a deeper meaning for all of us. And if we can ask ourselves, what is my life purpose? Then at some point, if we have that, we also know that in order to do that, we need to make sure that our cup is full. We can't serve from an empty cup anyway. When we ask ourselves, what is my purpose? And we know that we can't serve from an empty cup, we then know that, I need to make sure that my cup is full. So what practice do I need to put in place so that my cup is full? And it could be can I just say I love you to my loved ones? Make sure I keep saying, and I really mean it. Can I slow down? I know I have a lot to do, but rather than filling up my diary from every single, I'm not giving myself even 5 minutes, saying I can't afford not, I can't afford to waste time. What if I really don't see it as a waste of time, but I see it as an investment in me? The 15 minutes I take to just walk the dogs or go out in nature is an investment in me. What if I can just, I love breathing, I do the breath work or I do meditation. What if I make that my priority? And so that's because I think it's not this is the strategy. We need to think about what is my life going to be about? Because then we get prepared for the inevitable in life, which is the life challenges. And we all will have life challenges. It's not always going to be rosy, but that is a way of being.
Hello, hi, this is Parth, and we both are actually founders of Phosphene, and it is an intersectional art and cultural lab. Okay, and we have been working for like 3 years now with the magazine, and we have almost like 6 issues. So, coming from Dalit and trans community, as a Dalit and trans person, I want to ask, how do you think community support helps bring peace of mind? Okay, when you already come from a lot of layers of marginality, how do you think like we can have peace of mind of our own? So I really wanted to ask you that, because as an individual, I really feel alone. Like when I'm with the community, I know I'm powerful, but when I go home on my bed, I feel very alone. So like how mental wellness and what basically my mental wealth comes to the power then. So I really want to ask that.
Yeah, I will just add to this question because the idea of being independent and doing it all by yourself is highly glorified by our society. So how do we actually understand that it is not, we don't have to do it all on our own. We should rely on community, we should rely on other people as well. We don't have to, be alone in this. Because a lot of here, we as queer people, we as young people, older people, everybody, we sort of feel alone in our challenges, but we sort of forget that we also have a community around us to depend on. So what is the role of community in achieving that peace of mind that you mentioned in your talk as well?
Okay, so beautiful question. So one of the one of the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine is connection to community, connection to loved ones. So we all benefit from that support. We can, of course, don't get me wrong, there are times when we just want to be on our own. And that's a choice. Sometimes you just need a peace of mind. Too much family is also like, okay, too many conversations, like, oh, I just have to have quietness. And it's also good to know that we have we have a community of people who get us, who don't judge us, who allow us to be just ourselves. That's very, very important. Because if people they have expectations of you, you should be a certain way, and but you have to change, and then you're thinking like, oh my goodness, I don't want to change, I just want to be me. And then you have a community of people saying, we will accept you as you are, you don't have to change. That is so important. That is like giving you the support, the love, the connection we all need. So that's something I would say. And I can't remember what the other question was. Something around. Have I answered your question, because you asked me a question before that?
Yeah, I asked. I feel powerful when I'm with people. As I go back to my bed, I feel very lonely.
Okay.
And I think like my personal experience is a lot of people's personal experience as well.
Yeah.
Because we come from like the same minorities and maybe different, but like. According to us, like we are same, and as queer people, like I think like everybody feels very alone when they go back home. So I really want to ask how we can achieve peace of mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing I would say is, it's okay to feel lonely. Most important thing I want to say, that it's really okay to feel lonely. And it might feel very, very uncomfortable, but it is not dangerous to feel lonely. It's how we interpret it. If we think, oh, being lonely is sad or feeling lonely is dangerous, then we have an interpretation of loneliness. See, we have different emotions. We have positive emotions which we all like. We all like to be happy. We all like to be peaceful. We all like to be joyful, kind, all the good stuff. And there are also times when we don't feel those emotions. We feel upset, we feel hurt, we feel angry, we feel intimidated, frustrated, jealous, all of those. We can't say we only want to feel the good sides of the human emotions, not these uncomfortable ones. What I teach my clients and my patients is, what if you could feel comfortable with all kinds of emotions, including the most uncomfortable ones? What if it's okay to be lonely, to feel lonely? The other thing I hear a lot from teenagers these days is they don't like feeling bored. Have you heard that? Oh, but mom, I'm bored. I'm bored. And then we are looking for distraction because we don't like the feeling of bored. And you know that when we don't like the feeling of bored, then we are looking for like something to stimulate our mind all the time, constantly. We are on the gadgets, we are on Netflix, we are constantly trying to stimulate ourselves. What if it's okay to feel bored? Why don't we allow ourselves to feel bored? Because they said it's like I have to keep doing something. What if we surrender to that feeling of feeling bored and make it okay? It's not going to haunt us. It's okay to feel bored. And then we might have an idea like, oh, I could do something. But again, I would say that loneliness is a feeling. It's a feeling, and we don't have to give meanings to that feeling. It doesn't mean that that no one likes me, because that might be your mind might say, oh, you're feeling lonely, no one likes you, or you're feeling lonely because society stigmatizes you. There could be some truth in that, but you don't have to believe that, because when we believe that, that's when we suffer. What if we could allow all kinds of emotion to feel all kinds of emotion and don't make it wrong? Then emotion does not, we can then detach from the emotion from time to time. So that's what I would say. Sydney Banks, who is the person who uncovered the three principles, he had a quote I absolutely love, and he says, if the only thing that people learn is not to get scared of their emotions, that itself will change the world. Now I want you to just pause and think about it. If the only thing people learned was not to get scared of their emotions, and any emotions, even the most intense emotion, that itself will change the world. What if, and I know the lady has left now, what if someone could have a suicidal thought and not believe it, not take it that, because I have this thought, I have to take action. What if they just say, oh, it's just a thought. It's a very intense thought, but I don't have to take action. I don't have to get scared of the suicidal thought or feeling suicidal. If we can remove the scary part of that and be okay with that, again, that would shift, because all feelings come and go. Now I would say, Parth, maybe there are days when you lie on your bed and you feel lonely. Maybe there are days you lie in bed and you don't feel so lonely. So what I'm trying to say here is that all feelings come and go. They have a beginning, they have a middle, they have an end. They're dynamic, they come and go. If we say, no, you're not allowed to, and we are trying to resist it, then that's the challenge, there's a problem there. We have a condition called OCD. You might have heard about the term OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. One of the criteria for OCD is that a thought comes to someone and they keep trying to resist it and they can't resist it anymore. And this is part of the OCD criteria. But think about our own life. We might not be diagnosed with OCD, but sometimes we might have a thought, or sometimes we might have a feeling, and we're trying to resist it. We don't want to surrender, so we're resisting it. The more we resist, whatever we resist, it persists. So if you try to resist the feeling of loneliness, it's going to persist. What if we make it okay to feel lonely from time to time, knowing that that's my dynamic experience right now, but it's not who I am. So the peace of mind would come knowing that feelings come and go, thoughts come and go, but who we truly are, our spiritual essence, it never comes and goes. It's the constant. So I would say what I'm calling mental wealth is constant. The inner peace is constant, except that we don't connect to it because we are human beings after all. From time to time, we really don't feel peaceful. But the inner peace that I'm talking about, that the peace that comes with the experience of mental wealth, we don't manufacture it. It's the essence of who we truly are. So the more we surrender and make it okay to feel lonely from time to time, make it whatever, then we experience a peace of mind.
Yeah. I also have a question on surrender. So basically, surrender is not a new idea for, I think, intersectionality. For any minority, surrender is not a new idea. I think we have always surrendered ourselves to our mental health, to our situations, and everything comes our way, which we can't deal with. We always surrender that, and I think our parents also taught us that how to surrender for our problems, basically. So I want to ask how to balance between surrender and resilience.
Surrender and resilience, do you say?
Yes. Because we also have resilience in our life. Like me and Vani, personally talking about us, we have a lot of resilience. And we show that in our work, in our life, in our basically everything, but we also surrender. So it was never a new idea for us. Like you were also talking about surrendering. It wasn't a new idea for both of us. But at the same time, we don't know what is the difference between, like there is a thin line, I guess you know this, like surrendering and resilience. So I really want to know like how we can differentiate between that. How can we be okay with that?
Yeah, I just want to add to this that when we are surrendering to our emotions, usually, as people coming from different intersections, from different marginalizations of gender, caste, race, there's always a fear of surrendering too much. Like, where is the line stops where we actually start acting and working on ourselves? Because I have learned that as marginalized people, our resilience is revolutionary. That taking care of ourselves, we have been taught. I work with a lot of people from marginalized community, Muslim, Dalits, queer people, trans people, where we believe that resilience is revolutionary in a society that works, a system that works against us. Fighting against us is revolutionary. So where do we find the balance of actually relaxing, surrendering to our emotion, and not fearing that we are doing too less? And we will be like, we are actually surrendering to the system, and this is what is actually meant for us. We don't want to be passive. At the same time, we don't want to be exhausted.
Yeah, because it could be a really, like scary idea to surrender because you have been oppressed throughout your life, and like caste system being 3,000-year-old oppressing system still running, longest oppressing system in this world. So like, how can we, like find this difference? So I really want to ask that.
I think that's a beautiful question. I don't see it as a either or, but when I say surrender, I'm talking about surrender in the moment with the difficult emotions, and just trust in that moment it's okay to experience whatever we are experiencing. So in terms of, there's a beautiful quote, I can't remember the exact quote, but there was something about the prayer to God, like, oh God, help me to understand which things that I have control over, and and to distinguish which ones I have control over and which ones I haven't got. I can't remember the exact quote, but our wisdom will tell us when it is time to be okay with this moment, and when it is time to like lead, and take a stand for something. But when you're saying resilience, what I'm hearing is taking a stand for something you absolutely believe in. Okay, so there is power in taking a stand for something. So if you see oppression is taking a stand for something, so I would never say don't take a stand. It's like that's your purpose, your big enough why. When I said that every morning you wake up and say, what's my big enough why, for example, that's the stand you're taking. For me, I'm very clear. The stand I am taking is that I'm taking a stand to spread the paradigm of mental wealth within the health industry and beyond. This is exactly what I'm doing here. I'm taking a stand. The talk I'm doing, I'm giving you right now is, and the talk I gave yesterday in Ahmedabad, different people, and I adapt it, but I'm always, that's my stand. I'm sharing what I've seen for myself, seen what it works for people that I have been helping, seen how they have moved on from feeling like a victim to like really taking on, transforming their lives. So I'm taking a stand for that. What I'm hearing from the two of you is also you guys are taking a stand. It's not easy. And I know that people are also, people might judge me. People might say, oh, this is wrong. What are you teaching? And kind of thing. So I am going to be critiqued because of my views. That's okay, because I'm not, there's so many people, not everyone is going to like what I'm saying, but there will be some people, they might resonate with what I have to share because they see this is powerful, this is hopeful message. Similarly for you, that you will know that I don't mean surrender means like, okay, do whatever you want to do to us, okay, take away everything. You can do that if you want to, but there is, like you said, you will be guided by intuitive knowing that this is the right moment for me to just keep my mouth shut and not say anything in this moment. But that doesn't mean that I'm just going to, not take a stand and not do anything. So you will know. I think I think the two of you, already what you have created so far. And that other thing I want to say that when you are coming from a position, I take a stand, I have something, I want to make a difference, I see something and I'm going to go ahead. You are taking what I would say a creator stance. The stance you're taking is, what do I want to create in this world? So you're not coming from a victim position. Because I make a distinction between, like, sometimes in life we can go about, I'm a victim, and I will surrender. So I'll show you two ways of surrendering. One way to surrender would be like, I surrender. Okay? So you say, okay, what are you doing? Hands up kind of thing. Okay, I surrender. That's a way of surrender. The surrender I'm talking about is I surrender. Do you see the difference there? One way is a victim, I have to surrender, and yes, whatever you say is going to be right. And we are saying that, I'm lost, I'm okay, it's victim. When I'm saying I surrender, meaning like I don't know what to do about it, but I'm surrendering. There's a deeper intelligence at play. I'll be guided. That kind of surrender. I hope this makes sense.
We always, at an individual level, struggle with imposter syndrome. As a result, we are very unkind to ourselves. We always are finding reasons and working hard, putting in extra efforts to make ourselves believe that we belong here. Like for me to even be part of spaces like this, I believe that I have to be exceptionally good. I have to be perfect. And due to that, we are very unkind to ourselves. We believe that we are not enough. So at an internal level, I do feel broken that I don't belong in these spaces. I don't belong here because of my marginalization. So when you said that you are just lost, you are not broken. So how can we navigate like imposter syndrome as a actual thing, because it is like an epidemic when it comes to people my age. I will say that I work with a lot of people in queer communities, trans communities. Everyone is doing extra hard work, being so hard on themselves to just feel like they belong. So in that scenario, how do you think that we can be kinder to ourselves?
Beautiful. Anyone sitting in the audience feels like that from time to time? Yeah. So we all have the experience of having that like imposter syndrome. I don't think it's only your age or belonging to queer community. I think I have heard the leaders or coaches also say imposter syndrome. Who am I to say this? Do I know enough? Or look at those people, they have all these qualifications, or they can say that I can't. We all have that, what we call imposter syndrome. But going back to the equation I had shown right at the beginning, clarity is equal to capacity minus contaminated thinking. The imposter syndrome is made up of our contaminated thinking. I'm not enough. I don't know enough. Who am I to say this? It's all contaminated thinking. And so it's not about not thinking that, but when we think that, noticing that, wow, this is where, this is what I'm believing in right now. And I have two choices. Once I see it, I have two choices. I can either keep watering that and make the imposter syndrome grow and grow and grow and say, look, I was right anyway, or we stop watering that and we start watering the kinder to ourselves part. Yeah? So that's what I would say. Like, imagine we have got two plants at home. One plant is the scarcity mindset or the negative mindset or the imposter syndrome mindset. And that's the one plant. And the other plant is the growth mindset or like abundance or like, I am open to trying new things. It is going to be hard kind of thing, but I'm still open. So we have got two plants, and we are constantly staying near the negative one, the imposter one, and saying, I don't want this to grow, I don't want this to grow. But we have a watering can in our hands, and then we are standing there and say, I don't want this to grow. And then by shaking only that we are watering that plant because we are standing near it, we are giving more care and attention, that plant grows. And we are not even watering the abundance one, which is the other side. So what I would say is, again, once we notice it and we say, oh, I don't need to keep watering this because I'm focusing on this and I'm saying, oh, how do I get over this? But actually, I'm just watering the contaminated thinking. And we can be kind to ourselves by starting to look at how can I nurture myself? So again, we're watering that. And then when we ask questions like, how do I? But the most important question, rather than how to, is we all know how to. If you were to say, okay, how do I get over imposter syndrome? Just go to Google. Just Google will give you like 100,000 ways of getting off imposter syndrome. So it's not that we don't know how to. I think the most important thing for us to why? Why do I want to get over this? Because we know that when we are doing that, we are living a lie. Because that's not who we truly are. We are capable of so much more. When we have a big enough why, like you guys have, so what I'm hearing, Vani, is you feel that from time to time, but because you have a big stand, a big focus, a big why, then although you feel that you might feel the imposter syndrome from time to time, you still challenge yourself and still go ahead anyway. Look at you, just doing it right now, beautifully. Is she beautiful? And can we have a round of applause for them? These two are amazing.
Thank you so much. I will stop with the how-to questions for this one. As a person who deals with chronic stress, I've been diagnosed with, I deal with chronic stress. There is a line that I read recently, and it is a book by a queer writer by Melissa Febos, and Abandon Me. And she writes beautifully in there, and it has stuck with me, that you don't understand the amount of extent of burden of something until it is relieved. So as a person who deals with chronic stress, what is your advice, and what is your advice to me to achieve that threshold of at least having no stress? Because I don't think I have any threshold or balance in my mind where I feel like, okay, now I am stress free. Because of chronic stress, I struggle with it. Okay, today is feeling a little better, but I don't know if I'm totally stress free. And tomorrow, I might feel a little, more stressed than previous day. Oh, I'm not grateful. So I struggle with this idea of having a threshold for myself, of having no stress or less stress. So I don't understand when I'm, free of stress, basically, as a person with chronic stress.
So first of all, I want to acknowledge you for saying that, and that you feel chronic stress. And I think most of us can relate to that at some level, that although you want to be stress-free, one thing after another happens. It seems like we are chronically bombarded with what we think, that are stress. So first and foremost, what I would say to you is that language creates. That's my first thing I'll say. So if you say that I have chronic stress, you're already creating an assumption that, you have always had chronic stress and that you might likely have chronic stress. So I'm just saying as a possibility that perhaps you use a language where you kind of to yourself and say, well, I mean, maybe I had chronic stress now, in the past, and I know that I can have less stress. So that might be a first step. But a coach, I went to a conference in Mumbai last year, and he said lots of different things. And he said, if you don't remember anything I said today, I want you to remember these 6 words. His name is Alok someone, Aparna, I can't remember his surname, it's a difficult surname. But these are the 6 words he said, and you might want to write this down. This could be a way of being, and it's very, very simple, but don't get me wrong, simple does not mean easy. It's simple, but doesn't mean easy, and it takes practice. So the 6 words are you ready for this? So, love more, judge less, go deep. Let's just consider these 6 words as a solution for chronic stress. Love more. How many times do we sort of say, no, but I can't love more, and we put conditions, or I can't love more because, no one is worthy of my love, or, this needs to happen first, and then we put a lot of conditions. But if we just go back to the basics of just, what if it is really possible for me to be more loving? And, towards myself, towards others. So love more, other 2 words, judge less. We judge ourselves a lot, all of us. We can be our worst critic. And then we project our internal judgment to others as well. Then we start judging other people. Oh, look at that taxi driver. Oh, look at the people. They're honking all the time. Look at that person. He did not even say hello to me. Then we start judging other people. Yeah? And because we have been judging ourselves, it just like spills over. And then we start judging others. And what if we were to judge less? What if we were to be kinder to ourselves and forgive ourselves for the silly mistakes we make? Or I forgive myself for judging myself, and we could be, I forgive myself for not saying not being kinder to myself. That could be one. But when we make it a mantra in a way that we live by our day-to-day life, love more, judge less, the final 5th and 6th words are go deep. Because, on a superficial level, it might seem like, okay, I need to fix my thinking, I do this thing. But the moment we go deep, we know it's not like learning more and more and more stuff, but whatever we think works for us, how can we go deeper there? How can we see something even deeper there, just rather than scratching the surface? If we can go deep, then we know again that something, we just know, we intuitively know that there is something for us to see here. And so those words really struck me because they are very simple words, but that's the recipe for a very healthy, balanced life, where we are going to have more peace of mind, where we are going to have less stress. Because what gives us more stress is like feeling anxious, or not being loving to ourselves, or keep judging ourselves, or being superficial, like focusing on mundane things rather than going there. So I would say that. And we are all work in progress. We are all work in progress. We think we have arrived, like, oh my goodness, finally I have done what Rani said. I have done loving more, tick. I have done just less, tick. And have gone deep, tick. Oh, like I'm sorted. Oh, only for one day. Now again I'm feeling stressed. What happened? Oh my dear. So what it is like, what if we could have a light-hearted way of being? What if we could be less serious about life? And just have more like a children, if you think about young children, they have a light-hearted way of being. They're very direct on your face. They will say things as they are. They will cry when they're upset. They will laugh when they want to laugh, and they will just live life to the full. And we all have that inner child in us that we, as adults, we have just okay, you're not important anymore kind of thing. We are not children anymore. But we all like to have a laugh. We all like to be light-hearted. That's the answer for reducing mental distress and chronic stress. I'll say a quote that there's in a beautiful book called, if you are book lovers and you want to read any book on this topic I talked about, I'll highly recommend 2 books by Sydney Banks. One is called A Second Chance. I have given this to so many of my patients, especially if they have got depression. It's a book. This is so deep written in a very. It's like a story, and it seems like a simple story, but it's a very deep and profound message. And many of my patients, just by reading that book, have found something, a really aha moments, the insights. So I highly recommend Second Chance by Sydney Banks. And the second book again is by Sydney Banks. It's called The Enlightened Gardener. So again, a very, very profound book. And there are two parts, part 1 and part 2. But I think it's in the part 2, there's a metaphor like damp and darkness is to fungus as seriousness and stress is to mental health. Basically, if you know fungus, right? If there's a damp place, then if it is damp and it's dark, the fungus is going to grow. Similarly, for mental health problems, if you are very, very serious with life, if you are very stressed, and obviously mental health problems will grow. But he says, damp and darkness is to fungus what seriousness and stress, I think, is to mental illness. Light and dryness is to fungus what love and lightheartedness is to mental health. Can you see? So again, when we keep the surface clean and if we bring in light, the fungus can't grow. Similarly, in mental health, if we have more of a lightheartedness, if we have more love, then again, that's the answer. And we have more forgiveness. And again, then that's what our mental health will thrive. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, it does totally make sense. Am I audible? Hello. Yeah. So, like, I think like what we are looking for that you answered, and we very liked it. And I have another question for you. Like, so basically, as Dalit trans person, how can we, like, how can we, like, we are struggling people with our mental illnesses. Okay, let's just say mental health. We are struggling all the time, every day, and a lot of us have diagnosis, a lot of us don't. But now people with diagnosis now, how they can have a functional life knowing that they have something like this, something that could be their basically a reason to just not function how society view them, like how people should, how people do, like how we can't function the same way. We have obviously developed a lot of different idea of functionality, and we have even like called ourselves dysfunctional. But at the same time, how people with diagnosis can function? Yeah, that's why. Yeah, this is the question I require.
So I highly recommend the book, by the way, the Beyond Diagnosis book, that will answer a lot of questions. And I don't think this is only for the lit community. I think it goes for any community. So what I would say is that no matter what the diagnosis is, look if you can go beyond the diagnosis. And if you remember one of the lines in my, if you remember one of the lines I had written, it was like, there is no them and us. There is no them and us, but we all have our separate realities. We all live in separate realities. And I think we'll wrap up after this, and I think it's a great question. So there's no them and us. I might not come from your community, but there's no difference from me and your community. There's no difference between a psychiatrist and a patient, by the way. Someone might come to me as a patient, but I also am a patient too, because I also have a GP. We all need to have a doctor. So I have a GP. So I might be a psychiatrist, but I'm also a patient. I also have my health conditions. Like I have mild osteoarthritis that I do my best to lead a good lifestyle. So the answer is about going beyond the diagnosis. We are not a diagnosis. And I think we do ourselves a disservice by thinking, because we have got this diagnosis, then this means that we are limited in some ways. I would challenge that in a very nice way. You are the two people who are the pioneers in this. You are leading your people. So yes, people who come to you might say, but oh, I'm broken, or I have got this diagnosis. And so you are taking a stand for your community. So I would say that when you see the truth of what I'm pointing to, you can be the best advocates, and in a gentle way, you can remind them, you can wake them up to the fact that it's impossible for them to be the diagnosis. The diagnosis is a label. Labels change over time, just like our emotions change over time. They come and go. Diagnoses can also come and go, but the essence of who they truly are is beyond even I belong to the trans community, or I belong to the Dalit community. So, and this is an invitation, because we need to wrap it up. That's the note I got, by the way. Because we need to wrap this up, I want, this is a call for action for all of us. You might not have a mental health label as such, but you might still identify yourself as, I'm an angry person, I'm a shy person, I'm a very serious person. We all have our labels that we put on ourselves, or maybe someone else has put labels on us. And to just consider, like, am I really that? Who am I beyond that label? Because the more we ask that kind of, who am I? I think I'm this person, like, oh, I am from this community, or I have this diagnosis. But who am I beyond that? And sometimes the question you might ask is, what am I? Rather than who am I, you might ask yourself, what am I? And you say, what? I'm not a what, I'm a who. But if you ask yourself, what am I? You might go, that your inquiry might take you to a very deep place where you realize that, we are all spiritual energy in disguise in the form of human beings. So that's what I would say as a wrapping up. So thank you so much for the amazing questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bora.
Thank you. Do you want to take a mic or something? We need to wrap up, but I think it's important to hear your voice. Yeah, of course.
Thanks a lot. I was listening patiently and I was waiting for the answers and everything, all sort of questions. I'm running my own NGO and we keep dealing with the mental patients, and in that search only I came to this platform. What I found is missing, like what we suggest, okay, being anybody related to you, or you may be related with the patients, what we can easily ask them to do is to sit with somebody who can listen them patiently and guide them the best, because that is the one most wonderful thing which worked with the patient in their lives. And that is very important. Somebody who can hold them, let them cry in their arms, let their all grievances and everything come out, and patiently listen time to time, whether they could give any suggestion or not, but listening is the most important for such kind of patients. First thing. The second thing is purpose. Once you make them aware about their life purpose, that is going to play a wonders. Why he is sitting here? Because he has got a purpose. He is no more a Dalit or no more a transgender. He is having a bigger purpose now. That's why he could fight and come and sit here and guide somebody. Until and unless a person who is not understanding what is the purpose in their life, they won't be able to fight. So this is the two things what I found missing, and this is very important for a mental patient and somebody near dear to understand. I don't know whether this could add or not.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I absolutely agree with you. It goes back to love more, judge less, go deep. Because when you go deep, we all find our purpose. So thank you so much. Beautiful. Thank you. We end it here.
Thank you so much. And I would also like to say my pronouns are they, them. I am a non-binary person, so yeah, I'm really sorry. But yeah, I am they, them. So yeah. Yeah, totally get it, but yeah. Thank you so much.